So, just so
We're
you know,
not going to record the meeting, Matt.
I'm recording it.
No, we're not.
Well, it's not our policy, is it?
Wait, is this an official meeting?
It's an
It's a
official
board
board meeting, but our policy states that we record when we're in our normal board situation, board meeting room at the hospital.
Well, there's nothing that prohibits Matt from recording it. So
Yes, there is. It makes it official record.
it should be an official record if it's an official meeting.
Well, there is a legal opinion that recommends to not do this, actually, but we talked about that. And you're right.
I guess that's before my time. So.
Yeah.
So you
What is it?
still
We're just not being difficult.
You still recording?
I'm recording the meeting.
Okay. I'll see you guys later. Let me know if he turns it off. All right. This is a little counterproductive. Do you really want to do this, Matt? Is this your line in the sand? Really? Yes, no?
Sorry, my stress level is very high right now, so it's hard for me to speak. I did not expect a massive conflict over this again. I didn't think you guys would be surprised. I recorded last year's meeting, if you recall. So, I have told you before. I cannot actually remember everything that is said at these meetings. And it's important to me that we take what we say here seriously, and that we're held accountable for what we say here. And the only way to do that is to have an accurate record of these meetings. And so I record the meetings.
I think the point is that you being a commissioner, it is different than a member of the public recording the meeting, and we have no official recording device here. So we can't record it and have it be an actual official recording. And that's a difference. But I think we need to either adjourn or conclude or continue.
Could I?
Point of order, that we do have a policy, I believe, which says that we make official recordings when we are in our official board setting in the hospital. And I believe you're aware of that. So I do take exception to the recording. We have nothing to hide, but I think that it is not something that, you know, if we have these policies, and you're, and rightly so, very keen on following policies, and then you yourself go and break one. So I don't see what this is all about. I think it's just a barrier to trying to work for our patients, for our community, personally.
I obviously haven't been involved in this kind of discussion before, so I'm, as the new kid on the block, if you wouldn't mind. First of all, the policies that we just revised, did those, I guess I must not have read that section carefully enough. Does it say that we only record in official meetings, or does it say that we record in official meetings? I mean, I'm wondering, do the policies also say that we don't in this kind of setting? I mean, I'm just, and again, this is just a point of clarification. I
The
don't
point
have,
of clarification is that when we go, for example, to the legislature,
sure,
we did not want to be bound to record what the legislators were saying because they may not feel free to speak.
sure,
So for that, reason, and because it can be logistics nightmare, to have it in where we don't have control of the venue, we voted, and Matt voted for that as well, to not record anything other than the meetings that are held in our normal venue.
And because
in that case, I would need to just check to see, because
Well,
there's a
you can
difference
check it if
between.
you had the board book, because it's in there.
No, I'm just saying, to me, it's important whether the policy says that we will only record under certain situations, or that we will record under certain situations, but if there's no prohibition.
it says
I
we
can
do
cer-
not,
if
we
I
do
could-
not, if we're outside of the
if-
hospital, we do not.
If-
Because we
if
are
I could-
legally
if I could
responsible. As a
finish-
secretary, I'm legally responsible for ensuring that we have the official copy open for the public records. And that is what our attorney has said. And we because it's very, as Jill has just said, we have difficulty, we haven't got recording equipment, we can't inflict this on other people like in previous board meeting. So it was decided that we would only record when we're at our board meetings in our home base. And this is not our home base. Maybe we'd like it to be, but it's not. So therefore, this leaves the hospital district open to prosecution and fines because of our inability to have an official recording which is archived for the benefit of the community.
Although my question wasn't
Well, I'm
completely answered, I appreciate your clarifying.
Well, there's no prohibition. I mean, anybody could record anything.
Sure,
It's just
sure.
council said that you have, if you're gonna vote to record board meetings, because many boards don't, doesn't record their board
Sure,
meetings,
sure.
that you do it in a way that's controlled by the organization, with your equipment and your system, which is why we have Susie do what she does,
Sure.
because it becomes the official public record
Sure.
and recommended against a board member recording, because that is something other than the public record.
And that's, we're trying to go by what our attorney has told us. It says,
Because that's other than a public record, but if an individual commissioner records, then because of the Open Public Records Act, that recording does become an official recording? I guess I'm trying to.
Yeah, the law doesn't distinguish you from a community member and a board member.
Right.
That you might be thinking you're recording this as a community member, but the law, you're recording as a board member
Right.
in that capacity. So therefore, it's
It's a public
subject
record.
to the Open
So
Public
therefore,
Record Act.
what Matt records is, quote, discoverable through
Yes.
public
Not
records.
only discoverable, but
We have
we're
an
required
obligation
to
to-
comply with.
I'm sorry, yes?
We have an obligation to record it.
To make it, I'm sorry, you have an obligation to,
Because it is an official public record that the public entity isn't the steward of. So that is
And if-
the problem the attorney points out you want to avoid.
and
great, well,
if something happens,
I'd love to get some more information and maybe it was shared with
it's
the
too
other.
bad you didn't study this beforehand.
May I finish speaking, please?
Oh,
I
please.
would love to, I'd love to see the letter from the attorney that describes that, just so that I can understand it, and I don't
Maybe you
have
could
a
get the
position.
same attorney that told you about conclude.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we forbid Commissioner Reddy from recording this meeting.
Well, I don't. So move that, is there a second to that? Discussion?
I just realized for a second.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chairman,
So
what's your call?
I'm going to ask Matt again, and try to explain that, again, that the reason for this is that if a particular board member has what is considered an official document, and something happens to that document that is in his or her possession, and it is not the actual official document, even though it still is discoverable, we have no way to refute, or if somebody did something with that, or took something out of context, we would have no way to verify or validate.
Great, well, I'd appreciate your clarification of that, and if I might, Matt, would you be willing to not record the session here today? And I'd love to study the situation further, and maybe you and I can speak some other time about the importance or relevance of recording, and then cover it at that point.
No. I'm recording the meeting. If it is a record for the hospital, we can do the exact same thing we did with all the other recordings I made. I just put it in the same directory on the hospital server with all the other recordings. I do not understand the resistance everyone in the room has to recording our public meeting like we do every one of them.
Problem with recording, we have the problem with recording it in the appropriate manner, so it complies with the Open Public Records Act, so it complies with the Washington State archival requirements for maintaining public documents. Mari, as secretary of this board, is responsible for the maintenance and archiving of all official records of this board. Because you are acting as a commissioner, because you're recording it, that makes it a quasi-official recording of the board, which means it falls under all these requirements. That is what I have the problem with.
And all those requirements are met by the hospital just having a copy of the recording.
No, by having the original.
Well, there is no original. It's a digital, there's no original digital. It's copied. The minute's copied to the server off the recording device. It's not an original. It's a digital image.
But it's council's recommendation, and I think that,
Well-
but I think we sat in that discussion, that the best practice is that this is to be avoided. This is not best practice. That was the recommendation, and I think that's what we are applying or trying to adhere to.
Yes.
Would it make a difference if this digital recording were made available to the secretary right at this time? I mean, would that, I'm exploring for some pie in the sky compromise, and I'm trying to see if there's some way to bridge the gap with that. And I don't know if Matt would be willing to relinquish his digital recorder to the secretary, but would that make a difference in the situation or not?
What we have here is one commissioner who refuses to yield to the will of the board, that refuses to adhere to
policy.
recommendations of the attorney of this
And
district,
to follow policy.
and to adhere to state
Lift your
law.
finger up to me, please.
Could I ask for
That
an
was
answer
voted
to
on
my
by
question?
the entire board, including the
Could I ask for an answer to my question, if it would make a difference to the rest of the commissioners if the digital recording were made immediately available so that, I mean, I can appreciate that that's
It
not
does
the
not
way
because it's
you
not,
understand
not
the
to me
policy.
because it does not follow policy. And that policy was voted on by 4 or 5 of the people here, all unanimously, because it is in the board book.
In that case, I would like to make a motion to conclude.
There's a second
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Mike, I apologize for this happening. I know
That's
you had a
all right.
program to present.
I'm just gonna kind of point out the obvious, that there are issues here.
I'll turn it off if we have officially concluded.
Yes.